For our next report, I would like to give the floor again to the delegation of Azerbaijan to present to the committee the reason why it requested to open the State of Conservation report on Kiev, St. Sophia Cathedral and related monastic buildings, Kiev, Pechersk, Lavra, Ukraine. You have the floor.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Since the first day of committee meeting, we were provided with some new printed information by State Party of Ukraine about St. Sophia Cathedral and related monastic buildings, Kiev, Pechersk, Lavra. It gave us possibility to adjust small amendments into draft of decisions. Thanks to undertaken efforts of the State Party for regulation, preservation and construction issues as the site area and the buffer zone. As was underlined into the paragraph 4 of the draft decision, 2 upper stories of the building was already demolished. We fully hope that State Party of Ukraine will invite the joint mission as it kindly requested in the draft decision by the World Heritage Center, and we welcome the fact of mentioned plan we will be prepared in close cooperation with World Heritage Center and ICOMOS, in line with previous decision of World Heritage Committee. We believe that we cannot prejudge outcomes of the reactive monitoring mission, and therefore we are not in favor of keeping reference to possible inscription of the property into the list of World Heritage in danger. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. I would like to invite Mrs. Anatole Gabriel and later ICOMOS, whether they have any further comments on this.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Je vais faire rapport des nouvelles informations qui sont parvenues au Centre du patrimoine mondial sur ce bien. Donc, le rapport sur l'état de conservation de la cathédrale Sainte-Sophie et ensemble des bâtiments monastiques et l'or de Kievo-Pechersk en Ukraine se trouve dans le document 7BA à la page 72 en anglais et 76 en français. Après la publication du rapport sur l'état de conservation, le Centre du patrimoine mondial a reçu le 1er juillet de nouvelles informations de l'État partie portant sur le plan d'activité de réhabilitation de la cour du monastère et fournissant des explications sur ces activités de réhabilitation. Ces informations ont été transmises très récemment à l'ICOMOS. Il est à noter également qu'une étude technique de l'ICOMOS portant sur le projet de réparation et de la restauration des murs de la réserve nationale Sainte-Sophie-Kiev, communiqué par l'État partie au Centre du patrimoine mondial au cours des premiers mois de l'année, a été transmise à l'État partie, donc je parle de l'étude technique de l'ICOMOS, a été transmise à l'État partie le 22 juin. Enfin, le Centre du patrimoine mondial a reçu de très nombreuses informations de la société civile faisant état de leurs inquiétudes sur l'état de conservation du bien au regard des décisions antérieures du comité. Le projet de décision vous est soumis à la page 73 en anglais et 72 en français. Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you very much, representative of ICOMOS.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The statement of outstanding universal value for the property indicates in relation to integrity, and I am quoting, rapid urban development, particularly from high-rise buildings, and the lack of protection and planning mechanisms can threaten the immediate surroundings of the property. The integrity of the property in terms of spatial links between its components and their relationships with the surrounding urban and monastic river landscape also requires a structured planning to address any potential threat. Following a reactive monitoring mission in 2013 and subsequent resolutions by the committee, the State Party has made progress, but has not yet finalised the management plan for the property and has demolished or reduced in height some, but not all, of the non-conforming intrusive buildings in the buffer zone of the property. For example, the State Party did not report on any measures undertaken to reduce the adverse effect of the property of the building on Klovsky descent, even though this has been repeatedly requested by the committee at previous sessions. There is also another dissonant and intrusive building on Gonchara Street within the buffer zone. While the achievements of the State Party should be acknowledged, it is also appropriate to reiterate the previous requests made to remove this adverse impact on the OUV of the property. In relation to the rehabilitation activities planned for the monastery courtyard, the need to ensure stability is recognised. But it is important that any works proposals be subject to a heritage impact assessment and that the potential effect on the outstanding universal value of the property be considered through referral of the project documentation and the heritage impact assessment to the World Heritage Centre and the advisory bodies. Other significant issues remain unresolved, such as advertising signs in the buffer zone. There is a gradual process of change to the scale and traditional fabric within the buffer zone because the surrounding precinct lacks adequate legal protection and planning mechanisms. This dynamic process of progressive change to the scale and character of the setting threatens the outstanding universal value of the property. A reactive monitoring mission is warranted to consider these matters and protection and management of the property and the wider historic urban landscape. And it is also reasonable to provide clear indication to the state party that if these significant matters are not addressed, the threats to the property which remain could potentially justify inclusion on the list of World Heritage in danger. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Any request from the members of the committee for the floor? So we can move to the adoption of our draft decision. Representative of Portugal, you have the floor, Mr. Ambassador.
Sorry, Madam. The floor is open for comments. That's what I'm... Oh, okay. Very briefly, and just a general comment. And I think ICOMOS, it already answered the questions that I wanted to place, which is to what extent would or would not these latest pieces of information alter the proposal. I think I got a clear answer to that. So my only remark at this stage is, again, to insist on the coherence of our approach to all these issues. We had Liverpool, we had Lahore, we had Vienna, we had Venice, and now we have Sofia. So I think it will be advisable and it will go in the sense of the credibility of this committee that we do not pick and choose or apply double standards. We treat them all the same way. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. I see no more requests for the floor from the members of the committee. So I see that the state party is asking for the floor. Representative of Ukraine, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair and the members of the committee, to the possibility to take the floor and to express the position of Ukraine. We share the concern of the World Heritage Center that the construction activities within the property's buffer zone are not properly regarded. The current use of the buffer zone caused a range of problems. That's why the Ministry of Ukraine developed a draft law on the moratorium on the construction activities with the buffer zone of the World Heritage properties. Such moratorium has been already implemented by the Kyiv local authorities. As to construction work in Kyiv-Pechersk-Lavra territory, I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that in spring 2011, the snow melting caused a landslide that threatened the conservation of the historical buildings. Thus, it was decided to renovate the lost buildings, which foundations served as retaining walls. I'd like to note that World Heritage Center and ICOMOS representatives were acquainted with the rehabilitation activities program for the monastery economic courtyard during their visit to Ukraine in 2013 and 2014. So they rehabilitated buildings and had no objection. The same information was transmitted to UNESCO World Heritage Center in 2015 as a part of the National Annual Report. It should be underlined that the reconstructed buildings don't affect the outstanding universal value of the property. Ukraine is ready to receive a joint reactive mission. We are convinced that before the visit to the mission and presentation of an updated report of the state party, it's premature and not justified to prejudge the outcome of the mission and anticipate negative conclusion of the committee. Thank you for attention, and one word from our Deputy Head of Kyiv, please.
Madam Chair, I'm a Deputy Mayor of Kyiv City, and let me notice that the first time Kyiv City authorities report with the results, but not with the promises before the committee. Firstly, Kyiv has completed with the previous committee's decision, 2 floors of the dissonance building on Desятинny Lane were demolished. Now I will report about the other dissonant building in the buffer zone, St. Sophia Cathedral. Here I talk about the 41-meter high-rise building on Hanchara Street. The Kyiv City Council now consider giving the developer a monthly period for lowering the height to 25 meters. Otherwise, the termination of the land lease will be commenced. Let me assure you that Kyiv City authorities make complex decisions to protect the historical and cultural heritage and meet all requirements of UNESCO. We hope for your wise and fair decision. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Representative of Turkey, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, we find it encouraging, the statement made by the Deputy Mayor of Kiev, and we appreciate State Party's efforts towards progress in regard to management plan, which is currently in its final stage. Furthermore, we also support the efforts to reduce the height limits of the non-conforming buildings in the buffer zone. However, some new constructions which are in sight may still further undermine the OUV of the property. We realize the State Party is committed and very cautious about these things. Therefore, we would be inclined to support the amendments that are proposed. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. I see no more requests for the floor. So I invite you to adopt the draft decision for TCOM 7B61. Mrs. Rapporteur, have you received any amendments? Could you please present them? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For this draft decision of the City of Kiev, we have received 2 amendments. One is from Azerbaijan and one is from Vietnam. The first amendment that takes place in paragraph 4 actually is in conflict because the very first part of the amendment is both supported by the 2 states parties that proposed the amendment, but the end part is a bit different. So I will read out paragraph 4. Also takes note of the efforts undertaken by the state party which resulted in the demolition of 2 floors of the new building at Desятинny Lane, excuse my pronunciation, 3 to 5 in the buffer zone of one of the components of the property, namely St. Sophia Cathedral. Azerbaijan proposes to delete the rest of the sentence, whereas Vietnam would continue on and reiterates its request to the state party to further reduce the adverse effect of the dissonant building on Honchara Street, 17 to 23, in the buffer zone of St. Sophia Cathedral by means of demolishing the already constructed stories to the level of neighboring historical buildings. So this is paragraph 4. We need to make a decision between the 2 options. We move down to paragraph 8, and this is a proposition sponsored both by the Azerbaijan and Vietnamese proposals. Further requests the state party to invite a joint World Heritage Center ECOMOS reactive monitoring mission to the property to assess its current conditions, to discuss all sensitive issues regarding the protection of the historic urban landscape of the city of Kiev, including a reinforcement of the management system, and to assist with the finalization of the management plan in line with the decisions of the World Heritage Committee and in accordance with the World Heritage Convention. The last amendment takes place in the last paragraph, where we delete the last part of the sentence with a view to considering, in the case of confirmation of the ascertained or potential danger to the OUV, the possible inscription of the property on the list of World Heritage in danger. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. I propose that we may adapt the paragraphs that in each paragraph, starting from the first one, and to leave the one with two options at the end of our debate. Let me see. Paragraph 1, no objection, adopted. Paragraph 2, no objection, adopted. Paragraph 3, no objection, adopted. Let's see paragraph 5, no objection, adopted. Excuse me. Representative of Portugal, you have this floor, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you. But there was paragraph 4, the issue of the conflict there. You have to roll it up, paragraph 4. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
if you prefer to
let me
deal
do-
with the paragraph 4, I was planning to leave the paragraph at the end of all paragraphs to discuss and for the discussion and the comments.
Well, I'm in your hands, as long as I have the
Okay,
chance to say what I have to
let's
say.
come to paragraph 4 then, Ambassador, as you requested. On paragraph 4, we have two options. The floor is open for the comments of the members of the committee.
Thank you very much. Sorry if I was at the origin of any confusion. Now, on paragraph 4, I can live with the first alteration, which takes note of the efforts undertaken by the state party, which resulted in blah, blah, blah. And then when we get to the contradiction, then I think the best way to settle it is to come back to the original phrasing, otherwise we'll be in for a drafting exercise that will take some time. So I think roughly they say the same thing. So if we come back to the original draft, we would solve the problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative of Finland.
Thank you, Madam. Just to fully support what was said by Portugal. Thank you.
So I ask Azerbaijan and Vietnam if they can live with the proposal of Portugal.
Thanks, Madam Chair. We have the copy of the letter which was provided to the World Heritage Center by the Ministry of Culture of Ukraine, and where we have this building is not existed in buffer zone.
Representative of Peru, you have the floor.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. Creo que su propuesta de ver este párrafo al final del texto era correcta. Si el edificio no existe en la zona de amortiguamiento, entonces no podemos mantener la redacción que estaba por hacer el consenso. Lo que yo plantearía es que veamos, como usted había dicho, el resto de párrafos y volvamos a este párrafo y en el intermedio la Secretaría nos pueda indicar exactamente cuál es la situación fáctica de la ubicación de los edificios. Muchas gracias, señora presidenta.
Thank you. So we may continue with paragraph 5 now. To give time to the interested parties to reach a compromise solution for paragraph 4. Paragraph 5, is there any objection? I see none. Adopted. Paragraph 6, I see no objection. Adopted. Paragraph 7, I see no objection. Adopted. Paragraph 8, as amended. Is there any objection? I see not. Ambassador of Portugal, you have the floor.
I can live with this, but with the last alteration, in line with the decisions of the World Heritage Committee and in accordance with the World Heritage Convention. Well, we do take our decisions in accordance with the convention, I suppose. Anyway, it's nice in terms of style, but it's nothing more. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I ask Azerbaijan and Vietnam if they prefer to keep this line or deletion of this line is acceptable for them also. Vietnam, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The amendment of Vietnam is just to improve in terms of linguistic, because if you read the first part is to invite the Joint World Heritage Center E-commerce Reactive Monitoring Mission to the property to assess its current conditions, to discuss all sensitive issues. So what is the point when you mention again with whether its property is faced with a threat that could be deleterious, things like that. If we add that, we can add many things else. So that's not redundant, that's number one. Number two, we put another, it's a clear, that in line with decision by World Heritage Committee and in accordance with World Heritage Convention. So anything in line with that, we can go along. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Azerbaijan.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Actually, the logic behind why we proposed the same language is the same. It's to give the framework of the coming mission. Otherwise, that proposal was acceptable for us as well. Thank you.
Representative of Peru.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. Es un problema de estilo antes que de fondo y la delegación, el señor embajador del Portugal, nos recordaba que no tendría inconveniente en finalmente aceptar la redacción como estaba, y luego de las dos explicaciones creo que podríamos aprobar el párrafo 8 enmendado originalmente. Gracias, señora presidenta.
Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, may I ask if there is any strong opposition to the amendments that we see on the screen? I see none, so I declare it is adopted as amended. Paragraph 9. Any objection as amended? Representative of Portugal, Ambassador, you have the floor.
Well, Madam Speaker, Madam President, this is the operative, fundamental operative decision of this. So I'd rather say what I think about this amendment when I know the result of paragraph 4. But we're still waiting for the clarification there. Thank you.
Thank you. Then paragraph 9 is open until we conclude our discussions on paragraph 4. Do we have any wording for paragraph 4? May I ask our rapporteur?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to clarify, I think the matter that the distinguished delegate from Azerbaijan raised was the phrasing of the buffer zone part. And if we actually keep the original draft as the distinguished delegate of Portugal has suggested, it just mentions high-rise building on Klovsky descent by demolishing the already constructed levels to an appropriate scale without any mention of the buffer zone in this part. So I was wondering if we could just adopt the original draft rather than going for the amended version. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Azerbaijan, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I think we can live with it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So we go back to the original text. Can we see it on the screen? Yeah. Okay. If there is no objection, I declare paragraph 4 is adopted as amended. Then we may go to the last paragraph, operative 9. Is there any objection? Representative of Portugal, Ambassador, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam. Well, as I stated at the beginning, and I've been repeating this since yesterday, we must be careful in the way we treat situations which are essentially similar. So I would defend the logical outcome that we had for Liverpool, Lahore, Vienna, and Venice, that would have it here for Sofia too. So my preference goes to keeping the initial wording of the draft decision. I think it is written in very prudent terms, so it should be reassuring for the authorities in Sofia. Because it says, with a view to considering, in the case of confirmation, the possible, that's very, very, it's put in very careful words. So I think it would not raise any problem, and it will keep us in line and in coherence with what we adopted in similar situations with which we dealt with before. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative of Philippines.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is also the wish of my delegation that we retain the original paragraph. It is because of consistency, for consistency reasons, and as mentioned also by the delegation of Portugal, consistency because we have seen this particular phrase in the past in many of the other resolutions that we have approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative of Finland.
Thank you. Like the Portuguese ambassador, we also like to repeat ourselves. So it's just to say that we fully support the suggestion from Portugal, supported by the Philippines. Thank you.
Representative of Vietnam.
Madam Chair, I'm tremendously in my life by Marxist theory. He came up with a dialectical thinking, which means that we need to put everything in historical context before we put any judgment. Vietnam came up with the two amendments. The first one, we are ready to go along with the majority. The first one in the paragraph 4, we put that because we would like to acknowledge the efforts made by the state party. It's not very common that the state party listen to and implement immediately the committee decision. They decided to remove the 2 floors in a building. And secondly, they intended to bring down, to cut a story from 45 meters to 25 meters. This is a remarkable progress, but nevertheless, we can get along with the majority. Now, when it comes to the 9th paragraph, Vietnam has no problem in going along with the majority in saying that this is a formulate of standard words, any document. I think that you can go along with that, any standard document. But deep down, don't you think that the committee needs to have a word of appreciation to the state party for its courageous progress? I thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Representative of Peru.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. Yo quiero respaldar la reminiscencia al materialismo histórico que ha hecho la delegación del Vietnam, en el sentido que, más allá de una aproximación abstracta, nuestras decisiones siempre tienen que estar muy vinculadas a los hechos concretos, ¿no?, al daño que se ocasiona, al daño potencial, pero también al compromiso y sobre todo a las medidas que toman las autoridades para proteger y reparar situaciones que son graves. Y yo sí creo que es muy importante que autoridades locales y nacionales decidan demoler edificios. Hace unos minutos hemos señalado que la expansión del volumen y la dimensión del crecimiento urbano es quizás la mayor amenaza para el BUE de los centros históricos o de los edificios del patrimonio ubicados en áreas urbanas. Y creo que es realmente muy importante que estemos frente a un caso donde se decide demoler y donde cuando se le insta al Estado parte que hay que demoler más edificios, su respuesta es sí, que está dispuesto a demoler más edificios o reducir a través de decisiones coercitivas y obligatorias para las empresas, disminuir a un punto aceptable para el BUE. El Perú no tendría inconveniente en aceptar finalmente la redacción como está originalmente, pero sí nos parece, como lo ha dicho la delegación del Vietnam, que hay que reconocer los esfuerzos del Estado parte y de las autoridades locales. Gracias, señora presidenta.
Thank you very much. I see no more requests for the floor. Majority representative of Azerbaijan.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I would like, this is my first time in the committee, and I would like I checked all documentation, and of course the World Heritage Committee may have the list in Georgia, but I couldn't find any sentences in guidelines that we have to clarify, and we have to notify country in advance that property will be included in the World Heritage List in danger.
Madam Röster, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. There are the provisions for danger listing, of course, in the operational guidelines. But here, with a view to considering, in the case of confirmation of the ascertained or potential danger to the OUV, the possible inscription, that's a practice of the committee, which you find in many, many decisions over the past years. And it's also in the drafting guidance, which we have put also on our webpage. So this is totally up to the committee, but it gives a warning to the state party to comply with the decisions of the committee and in view of actually avoiding the danger listing. This is totally up to the committee, but it has been done in many cases, as was pointed out by the Ambassador of Portugal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Röster, for the clarification. Representative of Tanzania.
Thank you very much, Chair. Tanzania would also want to participate in this healthy discussion on this particular site. And as the other distinguished delegates have been talking about this original statement, Tanzania thinks it has been a practice, and we would want to go along with it. And within the procedure for putting sites on the danger list, there are procedures. And one of the procedures would be to start informing the state party on that intention, so that we prepare ourselves in case now things are getting worse. But I think in line with this original paragraph, maybe there should be an explanation why we are informing the third party. There should be other things going in line, particularly trying to get all the corrective measures so that we start preparing ourselves to put the site on the list in danger. I do understand the sentiments of the distinguished delegate from Vietnam and the other one, the Belgian one. And I think we could go with the original statement as a matter of trying to see that we are going into a situation which might put the site into danger list. So Tanzania would want to align with the original and would want to request the other delegates to take it positively. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative of Lebanon, you have the floor.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Juste un point de principe. It is never written anywhere that putting a site in danger list, before putting a site in the danger list, we should inform or get the approval or I don't know what of the state party. It is not written anywhere. The committee can put a site on in danger list without informing the state party. The committee can delete a site from the list without informing the state party. We have done this very often during these committees, where sites were put on the in danger list without getting the approval of the state party, and sometimes without the state party knowing. I remember, for example, in Cologne, the draft decision was not proposing to put the site on the in danger list. And we decided for the site of Cologne immediately in the committee to put it in danger list. The state party didn't know, he was not even aware that there could have been a decision about like this. This is a practice of the committee. The committee is sovereign, and this is very important. And any state party that inscribes a site on the list should know that the committee is sovereign. This is one of the obligations of the list. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative of Angola, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Angola would like to acknowledge the efforts of the state party with regards to this issue, but for consistency purposes and based on the issues that are yet to be resolved, we like to concur with the position from Portugal and also reiterate the comments from the Lebanon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see no Republic of Korea. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Republic of Korea joined our colleague of Portugal and Finland to keep the original draft. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see no more representative of Lebanon. You have the floor.
Excuse me, Mrs. Chair. I forgot to say that we joined the consensus also.
Thank you very much. I see that the majority of the committee members are representative of Azerbaijan. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I just would like to mention that we are ready to go along with the consensus within the committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So the majority is in favor of keeping the last part of the paragraph, the original text. There is no objection. I declare it is adopted. So we have concluded the paragraph. So I declare decision 40.7b 61 adopted as amended.